Before we get into this, understand something about Ring doorbells. They don't just record your porch, they record your routines, your hesitations, and the exact second a stranger decides to close the distance. Most nights the footage is dull, a moth, a raccoon, a delivery. But every so often, a simple chime becomes a warning you'll replay in your head long after the clip ends. What you're about to hear are 5 real moments that looked ordinary at first and turn out to be anything but. Each has a backstory that makes the footage worse the more you know. If you're watching this alone, keep the lights on, because the scariest part isn't what Ring shows you. It's what it can't. It captures the face at your door. It can't tell you who's hiding just outside the frame, or why they chose your house, or how long they've been watching. At 3:17 a.m., Jess's Ring woke up her phone with the same 3-note chime it makes for neighborhood cats. She was living alone while her husband worked oil fields in North Dakota. The porch light had burned out earlier that week. On screen, a young woman, early 20s, hair up, a bundled infant against her chest. She was crying. "Please," she mouthed, glancing over her shoulder. "My car died. Can I use your phone?" The audio didn't catch her whisper, but the camera caught something else. The baby never moved. Jess almost hit talk. Contrast, empathy versus instinct. She typed instead, "I'm calling 911 for you." The woman stepped left, so slightly it looked like a shiver, and the edge of a sleeve, dark, padded, slid into the frame. A second person was pressed to the siding, inches from the doorbell. The woman knocked once, twice, the infant slipping in her arms like a prop. Jess backed away from the stairs window and watched the feed from the hallway, heart pounding, thumb hovering over talk. The woman looked straight into the camera, and her crying stopped in an instant. The mask of panic flattened into something neutral. She lifted the infant higher, and Jess saw the tiny plastic hand. A doll. The 3-note chime triggered again from motion at the driveway. A third figure had just stepped into the moonlight, keeping their head down, slipping between shadows cast by the SUV. 9 minutes after Jess typed that she was calling 911, a cruiser rolled into frame, red and blue washing the siding. The woman and the hidden man were already gone, but the third figure ran, clipping the mailbox and disappearing off the property line. The deputy found footprints by the door and a pry bar tucked under the welcome mat. Their plan was simple. Get her to unlock, push past, take whatever could fit in a duffel. The doll was a tool. The tears were a trick. The footage still lives on her neighborhood app, muted and grainy, the kind of clip people argue about in the comments. Jess doesn't argue. She saved the pry bar in a shoebox as a reminder that some knocks aren't meant to be answered. I started noticing it because of the timestamps. 3 Tuesdays in a row, the motion alert hit at 6:42 p.m., right after my roommate's car pulled out. In the thumbnail, a man in an orange safety vest stood at our door with a padded envelope and a handheld scanner. He never pressed the doorbell. He just leaned in close, as if reading the grain of the wood. The first time, I ignored it. The second time, I watched the clip and realized something I should have seen immediately. The envelope was blank. He returned a 4th Tuesday, 6:42 again. This time he bent toward the doorknob and did something I have never seen a delivery driver do. He pressed his ear to the seam where the door meets the frame, like he was listening to the house breathe. Then he exhaled, fogging the paint, and dragged a finger through it like he was signing his name. When he stepped back, the camera got a cleaner look at the vest. The logo on the chest wasn't any of the big companies. It was a graphic I recognized from a pop-up tent at the farmer's market, a local courier service that had closed months ago. I scraped the footage frame by frame and caught his reflection in the brass kick plate. No mustache, shaved head, a small teardrop birthmark near his right eye. I sent the clip to the email on the now-defunct courier's website. It bounced. I posted it to our neighborhood app and got a DM within an hour from a woman 3 blocks over. Same vest, same blank envelope, same time. She'd come home once to find a smear on her knob and small pry marks in the paint under the deadbolt. The backstory unfolded ugly and fast. A contractor who'd helped install fiber lines on our street had kept a copy of his orange vest and a scanner from a junk pile, and he'd been building a route of quiet houses, addresses where the owner left around the same time every week. He used Strava heat maps to see running routines, checked LinkedIn to match names to units, rehearsed the knock without ever pressing the bell so he wouldn't leave a face in HD. Our Ring got him anyway. When a patrol car found him idling 2 blocks from our place, there were 3 padded envelopes on his passenger seat, with nothing inside, and a tool roll under the floor mat with shims and plastic wedges. The part that keeps me up isn't the arrest. It's the moment on the 3rd clip where he looks upward, not at the lens, but at my upstairs window, as if counting. He knew which nights I ran and which nights I stayed late. The ring stopped him once, but the routine is what brought him back. I switched mine after that. I stopped being predictable. The next clip got closer. It should have been the one night you expect a masked person at your door. Instead, the mask was the warning. Halloween, 9:11 p.m. Our bowl on a small table beneath the ring with a handwritten "Take 2" sign. The clip starts with a black and white crowd of kids, then a lull, then a lone figure in a latex clown face steps into the frame and stops. No candy bag, no movement, just breathing fog gathering and fading on the porch glass. I watched him live from the kitchen. After 5 seconds of stillness, I sent a preset message through the ring. Please take 2 and move along. The clown tilted his head. Another 10 seconds. He raised his gloved hand and made a slow, theatrical wave, as if he was on stage and I was the only audience. Then he lowered his hand to his side, and the fabric near his wrist flashed silver for a moment. I rewound and froze it. A utility knife, the kind that takes fresh blades, taped inside his sleeve with the handle tucked into a wrist brace. I should have called immediately. Instead, I hit talk again. You're on camera. The clown leaned in so close the motion sensor flared white, and behind the latex the eye holes didn't quite line up with his eyes. It wasn't a store-bought mask fit. It was a mask stretched over gauze. He stepped back, then pivoted off the porch, heading not for the sidewalk, but along the side of the house, out of the ring's field of view. I scooped the candy bowl and locked the door. The side yard camera was down that night, because I'd forgotten to charge the battery. We found his footprints the next morning in the dew. He circled to the backyard and stood at the kitchen windows long enough to leave oil prints on the glass from where his gloves touched. The backstory came from the landlord 2 days later. 3 doors down, a tenant had filed a notice that someone tried their back door twice in the past month, always on nights with foot traffic in the neighborhood, always wearing a Halloween-type mask, even in early October. The landlord recognized the gate when we showed him the clip. It was a man who'd been evicted in the spring for breaking into the property's storage area. He'd worked maintenance briefly, had copies of old keys, and took it personally when he got cut. The clown's smile wasn't whimsy. It was a dare. He wanted to see who had cameras and who didn't, which doors still had old locks, and which patios had sliding bars. We changed our locks that week and fixed the dead camera. Every October since, we leave the porch light off early. The candy stays inside. 2 nights after my neighbor's car was rifled through, my phone lit with the ring's "person detected" alert and then immediately with my car alarm. The video opened to an empty walkway and the jitter of the lens trying to expose for the darkness beyond the porch light. No person, just the alarm, pulse siren, then silence, then one honk like someone palmed the button to test my patience. The trick works because it pulls you out of your house. I stayed inside and watched. 30 seconds later, the ring caught movement. A knee, a shoulder, someone crouched low behind the hydrangea bush, wrong angle to be an animal. A second silhouette flickered in the far left of the frame by the fence line, there and gone. I pinched to zoom past the pixel mess and saw the faintest blink of a red LED in the crouching person's ear. An earpiece. I hit the siren on the ring itself. The speaker crackled a warbling alarm onto the porch while I put 911 on speakerphone. Stay inside, the dispatcher said before I could ask. Through the camera, the crouching figure flinched and looked toward where a person might emerge from the front door. It's a tell you learn watching these clips. Amateurs stare at the door, pros stare at the corners. This one did both. When the squad car rolled the corner silent, the croucher's head jerked. Then both silhouettes turned into streaks. One vaulted the low fence. The other sprinted up the driveway and out of view. The officers didn't catch them, but the ring did better than faces. It caught habits. The same 2 had been seen the previous week rattling handles 3 blocks over, setting off alarms, waiting for angry homeowners to storm outside in socks or with keys half in the door, and taking what they could from foyer tables, purses, wallets, delivery packages. One video showed them tossing handfuls of gravel at bedroom windows to lure people to the side yard. then trying the still wet latch on the garage door while the window owner searched the bushes. The backstory moved through the neighborhood like electricity. They weren't kids. They were two adults who used to work valet at a restaurant by the freeway, fired when a manager noticed a pattern of keys coming back with fingerprint powder residue after a string of house break-ins. They knew alarm delay chirps by brand. They knew which cars still had a door handle lock cylinder and which owners relied on keyless entry they could jam from 10 feet away. A patrol found in the alley behind our block a trash bag with a broken radio jammer and a handful of empty key boxes, the kind realtors clip to railings. They'd been scraping codes and testing. The thing that chased them off our steps wasn't bravery. It was time and noise. What I learned from that clip is simple and uncomfortable. The line between they're not here and they are is the single turn of a deadbolt, the single decision to step out into the night or to watch from behind glass. The ring is a lens, not a shield. It bought me seconds, and seconds were enough. Stay alert. At 4:12 a.m., before dawn made the street make sense, the ring chimed and showed a young man on our porch. Hoodie, jeans wet at the cuffs, breathing through his mouth, watching the road over his shoulder between every soft knock. He didn't press the bell. He used the wood, gentle, 3 times, then paused like he was trying not to wake the block. On live view, I tapped to talk. Can I help you? He startled and leaned toward the camera. Please, he whispered. I need the cops. He's still out there. He glanced right and blinked the way you do when headlights sweep past. I asked his name. He told me, then said, don't turn on the porch light. Please don't open. Just call. It was the most backward request I'd heard. Do not open. I said I was dialing and that he could stay near the door, but not in front of the glass. Headlights washed the far end of the street. A sedan crept with running lights and a rideshare sticker in the windshield, the kind you can buy online. The young man stepped sideways out of the camera's main frame, but not off the porch. The car rolled past, paused at the stop sign long enough to be obvious, then circled the block. When it came back, the ring caught the edge of its front plate reflected in the storm door glass. He tensed. The car idled, then finally moved on when a cruiser turned onto our street. No siren, only headlights. I met the officers at the door and played them the clip. They talked to him on the edge of the porch, then loaded him into the back of the cruiser to take his statement away from windows. The backstory was simple and predatory. He'd requested a ride after a late kitchen shift. A car with the right color and a different plate pulled up. He said his name. The driver nodded. 2 blocks later, the driver turned the wrong way and clicked the child locks. At the first red light, he forced the door, scraped his palms, soaked his shoes in a puddle, and ran. The driver circled for 10 minutes, slow-rolling side streets, looking for him. He picked our porch because he saw the blue ring glow. It looked like proof someone would hear him. Investigators came the next day for a copy. The reflection in the storm door gave them 3 plate characters and a bracket style local rideshare drivers don't use. It was enough. 2 weeks later, they made an arrest in a neighboring town. The car had sticker kits and a strap tied to the child lock rod under the door skin. People had complained, but without video, it was always just a feeling. That's the split-second ring preserves. The face at your door and the intent behind it. It can't choose for you, but it can buy time. And sometimes, time is the difference between dread and aftermath.